Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about how to create a vehicle wrap on a photograph in Photoshop. So the first thing you want to do is open up this truck image. And we're going to go ahead and duplicate the layer. Next, I want you guys to go ahead and make sure you save this. So as we are working, we can go ahead and continue saving by hitting Command S or Control S. So I went ahead and named this Vehicle Wrap Veggie Truck. You can name this whatever works for you. Alright you guys, so the first thing we're going to do is grab the pen tool and we're going to choose a bright filled color. Let's go ahead and choose red. Any color that works for you is fine. Then we're going to zoom in, hitting Command or Control plus. And I'm going to start clicking, making sure again you're on shapes here, fill, and we have their form. Now once you start clicking, you'll notice over here that it creates a new shape. Now I'm going to go ahead and lower our opacity down to about, let's do 40%. And then as we go ahead and continue our form, you can clearly see the color, but yet you can control seeing the image underneath. Now you can zoom in as much or as little as you need, kind of going around the form here. And getting the shape. You can always go back and make corrections later on if you want to. Sometimes it's a little easier. Holding down Option and clicking that hard anchor point here in Photoshop. We're just kind of going around the form here. And then, let's see, I don't think this is perfectly straight, so I'm just going to go ahead and get that one there. So I'm actually going to cut this into two shapes. I'm going to do this one here and I'm going to do the front. I'm just going along my path. I don't want the metal gray in it. Anything I want to keep and preserve on the truck, I'm not including. Now you can always do this as we go. I'm just trying to get as much as I can the first time rather than having to do it more than that. Okay, so that's not perfect. I'm going to have to go in and adjust that in a minute. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and really zoom in and make sure that there's nothing I'm missing or could tweak to make this stronger. You're going to use your direct selection tool for any just movement of anchor points. You're going to use your add or delete anchor points anytime you want to adjust something. Then making sure you grab your direct selection tool. You can curve things, move things, adjustments. It's pretty good, even though there's a hair of white right there. If we want to move this up a little bit, we can tweak it, or actually somewhere in the middle here, I'm going to add an anchor point. And then just kind of move it up. That's much better. Just kind of tweak that a little bit. Making a video. All right, so then we're going to continue along here. Just making sure all the anchor points look good. Need any adjustment, tweaks, changes. This looks good here, but not so good over here. There we go. Curve looks nice. All right, bring this down a little bit. And then adding one more anchor point here. Now sometimes it's traditional that the smoother the line, the fewer the anchor points. But when you're trying to create some kind of an organic form, sometimes you just gotta have to tweak or add points wherever necessary. All right, this is looking pretty good. This should be pretty straight. And let's go ahead and make this curve up like that. And this follows that nicely. This one we can move over a little bit. And we have our boxed traced out. All right, so that's our main box shape. We can you can see it here, fits the form. And I'm gonna go ahead and name this shape box of van. Now that we have the box frame of the truck, the back portion, we're gonna go ahead and get some of those details in this mask. So with my pen tool, I'm going to zoom in. And just start tracing around the form. I'm going to grab my direct selection tool and kind of make those details finalized here. All right, so we have that one done. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and leave this shape, and we can call it the right handle, but all of these are just temporary to make the mask. So then we're going to move to our next one here. And with the pen tool, I'm going to just start drawing. All right, and just kind of make sure that the details are good. All right. Let me get another one. And again, we're just tracing around the forms. Making these look halfway decent. Now, if you have a little black around the edge, it's not bad. It's not a huge issue because it's going to be like a shadow effect around the form. You just want to make sure that you're not getting any of the truck element. It won't look as good with that feature. Actually, I'm going back here. want to click and pull on this one. And just kind of cleaning it up here a little bit, zooming in a little bit more. There we go, I'm kind of looking at that. All right, and then the very last one here, zoom in, and also with the pen tool, just go around the form. Now you could technically copy and paste probably these locks or handles because they're similar form and just rotate them, but to just truly get the image correct, I like to trace them individually so that way the mock-up looks really clean and intentional, exactly where it's intended to be, and the form is accurate for the picture. Fixing this last little one here, and that'll do. All right, so now that I have those three forms here, I'm going to complete the mask for this. So I want to go make sure that all of my layers are showing. And I want to activate the very first mask here by simply holding down Command or Control and clicking on the image. And you can see now the dancing ants are appearing around the form. When you do that, you're going to go to the copy of the truck and you're going to hit the little mask feature at the bottom of the layers panel. And now I've masked my form. I can turn off my color, and if I turn off my background, you can see that as well. So now I'm going to activate my handles here, and all I'm going to do is hold down Command or Control. Dancing ants are activating right there. Then holding down Shift with the Command or Control, now I can just click on all of these, and I will start to activate all four of them at the same time. Then I'm going to go to my original copy, mask, and I'm going to fill in with black. Okay, so I turned off my eyes so you can see that I have the dancing ants on and what's going to happen. But on this mask right here, I'm now simply going to hit Shift Delete, or you can hit Edit Fill, and I'm going to choose black, and I'm going to fill. And now it hid my forms. So now I have my entire back of my box fan completely masked, and now I just need to do my front. Now if you were doing the food truck, you could just do this all in once because it's an entire side panel, but let's say your design involved different areas that you want to have different colors or forms. You can mask as many times or in different parts as you want. So I'm going to go ahead now and turn back on my original, and I'm going to focus now on this front. Now we already have this really nicely masked, so we don't need to worry about this wall as much because we can use that same one. But we need to get the front of the truck portion, and we need to make sure the windows are knocked out and any other elements like the lights or the bumper and stuff are out. So that is what we're going to focus on. I'm going to grab my pen tool again. I'm going to zoom in here, the front, and I'm going to start following along the truck. So I'm going to go outside because I'm going to use that back wall to make sure it's perfect. So I'm going to actually go beyond a little bit. And then now that I got it started, I'm going to go ahead and lower the opacity so I can see through while I'm driving and pay attention to the truck details. I'm actually going to hit with the Option key, and I'm going to go down here. Going around the form. And I'm going to make corrections. There's going to be some changes and some details I'm not going to be able to get the first time, and that's okay. We can get them in a bit. I'm just following along, getting the main forms here. We'll check our details later on, as soon as we get the most of this drawn out. And then I'm going to click and click. Alright, so now that I have that created, I'm going to go ahead and use my direct selection tool and just make sure I got all the details accurate for my form. Alright, we're getting close now. Looking pretty good. Getting the last little bit of details here. Alright, so now that we have that, now we need to start cutting out some of the areas that we don't want the major frame to have. So with the pen tool, I'm going to go in and zoom in here and start creating that shape. Just kind of roughly getting it here. I'll get close up and get the details. And this one here, I also need to turn down the opacity just so I can see the dark form underneath. And we can actually turn off the other mask too temporarily, just so we can see really well the little details of the windows and stuff. It does not need to be exact, but it needs to be close because of the fact that we want to make sure the mask looks really clean. So I'm getting this here, doing my little angle, softening up the form. Okay, still shows the edges, which is good. You don't want it to be perfect. You want it to be show a little bit of the black around the edge so it doesn't actually go into the white area, but it does mask out, which is good. And then we're going to go ahead and do the window. I'm going to grab the pen tool again, and I'm going to go around the form. Turn down that opacity again so I can see the window details. Actually, I'm going to zoom in here so I can see close up. We're just going around the details. Sorry, sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get all this stuff. This is definitely the most time-consuming portion of the assignment of creating mock-ups is the masking. Now you can use a brush with the Wacom tablet to go around the form with masking, but I like the really crisp lines of the pen tool for creating some of these forms. If it's human, more organic forms, I do prefer to use my Wacom tablet and really get those details in, really with the softer touch. Now I'm going to just kind of clean up my edges, make sure I didn't miss anything. Make sure you have a little trim of the dark color. I do not want to have it to be pure white next to it. You need a little bit of grays. It's going to make it look more natural afterwards. You want that subtlety. For it to create that nice real look. Okay, we might need to add an anchor point right here. And I'm going to just pull this in a tad. Just zoom in. We're going to get these little details here. All right, a little too much, so I'm going to back up a bit, but definitely want a little bit of a curve. Okay, set a little bit of the gray, clean form, maybe a little too much black at the top. I'll add an anchor point there. Move that up. Oh, I did not know I had an anchor point right here. I'm going to undo it. I'm going to move this anchor point up a bit with my direct selection tool just so I can get that little bit of bump for the gray and the black to be a little bit more consistent with its fill. All right, so we have the window and the form done. We have that, so all we need, I think, here is the door handle. So now we're going to grab the pen tool and go around with the door handle. Let's zoom in even more. All right, we're just going to keep going here. Have to make some adjustments probably as we go. I'm going to do this a little fast and then tweak it afterwards. Then with my direct selection tool, I'm just going to go in and refine my form here. See this gray? That's what I want. I'm looking for that gray. I don't want so much black. So I'm gonna just tweak this a little bit so we don't get so much black. And then this one here needs to be moved over. I'm gonna move it up and move this down. There we go. That's got a much smoother transition. And then I'm gonna just check the form up here. It's a little heavy on the edge, but it'll work, I think, with the form. I can always go in and add more if I want. So I have those elements here, and I'm going to now take a look at my entire mask for my front. So I'm going to turn it on here. So I have all my shapes, and I'm going to hold down Command or Control and select the very first shape, shape 4, and I'm going to mask it. So I'm going to go to my original truck layer. I'm going to duplicate my truck layer. And I'm going to go ahead and put front of truck. And then I'm going to click mask. All right. So now I have the front portion of the mask done. You can see. And if I even turn off my back, you can see my elements. Now I'm going to just use that selection tool from the different shapes to add to that mask. So holding the Command or Control, I'm going to select my little antenna. Then I'm going to hold down Command or Control plus Shift and select my next shape, which is my window here. And I'm going to then go to the very top one, shape 7, and I'm going to hit Command or Control Shift and click that very last one. So I have all 3 of those selected. I'm going to go to my front of truck mask here that's in black. Make sure that's selected. You can see there's a white frame around it. And then you're going to fill with black. So Shift Backspace or Edit Fill and then choose black. So now they're all hidden in my form. All right. Now I'm going to turn on my back of my truck, and I'm going to also now cut this element from it so then my graphic doesn't go over. Now if I keep my front of my truck under this, then it doesn't matter that it goes over because my front of the truck hides those elements. But if I want to control and make sure that they're this way, you can actually hold Command or Control and select a mask, and then you can fill this in with black on that mask. But for right now, at first I'm going to leave these together so that way I can choose to edit them. But you might need to, especially when we get to the color overlays, so that there's no issue. So I have here, I'm going to change my original back version, which is the giant box portion of the van. I'm going to choose back of truck. So now I have my front portion and my back. And then my shapes, I like to put them in a file. So I'm going to actually put them all up here, and you can label them, and I suggest that moving forward so that way you know which parts they are, but you don't need to. And I'm going to go ahead and select all of them by holding down Shift, and then I'm going to right click to make a group from layers. And in this group, I'm going to label it truck vectors, so that way I have the different forms. Or you can put truck shapes or whatever works for you. And I'm going to just turn it off because it's a little extra thing that I'm going to keep in case I need them or I need to adjust something. I'm going to turn on my original here. And I'm going to look at any details. So I'm noticing I forgot this one right here. Do you see the little circle here with the black? It has some color in it, so I think we need to go ahead and remove that. So because we want to keep that little light. So I'm going to go here, and to the back portion of my van, I'm going to add that little detail. So I'm just going to grab a circle. I think I'm just going to use my ellipse tool. I don't think I need to make a shape just for this little guy. Let's go a little even closer so I can see my form. That's pretty good. All right, I'm going to select this, and then on my box fan here on the back, I'm going to hit Shift Backspace and just fill with black. Perfect. So now I have my little light, I have my front, I have all of my details done. Now before I move forward, I'm going to go ahead and save this. File save or Command or Control S, and we get that going. Now we want to place in our art. Now we can do this so many different ways. You can use smart layers, we can copy paste it in, or you can actually create the forms in Illustrator and then place them in. So that's what I'm going to do. I created all my forms in Illustrator. So I have my graphics here in 3 different artboards. You can see I just use this image that I made to just kind of roughly scale my forms. They're not exact, they're just close, little forgiving. And I'm going to place my graphics in my design. Now you can do one of two things. You can copy paste them in, you can file place them in. So all of those options work. Now for me, I just went ahead and placed the link. So that way I can just update my link if I want in Illustrator and replace. This kind of works like a smart object concept. So I'm going to go to File, Place, Linked, not embedded, but linked. And then I'm going to choose my image. So I'm just going to choose my veggie truck back right. I'm going to place it. So now I have my form here, and I'm going to scale it to fit my back of my truck. And if you want, you can lower the opacity if you need to, just to kind of see the form to get the general size of it. But it should be a pretty close fit for the truck. And then once I'm happy with that scale, I can go ahead and hit OK and confirm. Now I can continue to adjust my scale and sizing with the truck by using my perspective tool and my scale and adjustment and fit everything in. Now I'm going to show you here that you can do this at any time. You do not have to do it now. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and mask my form. So I'm going to hit Command or Control and select the mask of the back of my van. Then I'm on my veggie truck layer that I just placed. I'm going to go ahead and click Mask. There's a link feature in between. I'm going to unclick that, and on this one right here, I'm going to now make adjustments to the form. So now that I have it linked, I can move this around and it's not going to change my mask or my truck in any way. So I can line it up the way I want, I can rotate it or skew it and fix what I want. So I have a couple things I'm looking for. I have a small line that I'm trying to line up. I'm also trying to get the perspective right. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to transform, and I am going to create a small perspective because the back of the truck is a little bit bigger. Right, so it is not exactly straight. So I'm just do a little bit. Then I'm going to skew my truck by going to Edit, Transform, Skew, and I'm going to pull it up. Now I recommend zooming in for this a little bit so that way you can really get the detail of it, and you can continue to do this also after. But I'm trying to get this pretty close, and I'm going to bring this down on my shape here, and that's what I'm looking for, that fan. So this is close, it's just not perfect yet. If and when you're happy, go ahead and hit the check mark or hit return, and you can turn the opacity back up to 100%. Now you can already see it fits the form. Now, one quick way you can see it on the truck is just by changing the blending mode. So for here, I just go to linear burn, and you can now see it on the truck. And this is a quick way where you can make adjustments. But I'm pretty happy with the overall form of this. And I'm going to now turn it off. So next, I want to create the front, and I want to place that in. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to File, I'm going to go to Place Linked, and then I'm going to go to my front side of the truck, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit just to give myself enough space, and we want to cover the truck with the color. And if we need to, we can lower the opacity a little bit so we can see the form. We just need enough color to fill it. It doesn't have to be too much. Okay, once we have the overall amount, we can go ahead and choose OK. And I'm going to zoom in because I'm going to skew this to work together. And I'm going to hit Command and Control T. It looks like the box is a little bit bigger. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and skew this by hitting Edit, Transform, Skew. And I'm going to need to zoom out a little bit. And I just want to line up this form here. Now we can zoom out and in, I should say, and kind of make sure we have everything covered. All right, we can put this back to 100%. We're going to grab our mask by holding down Command or Control, selecting our mask to activate the dancing ants. And then on that veggie truck layer, we're just going to mask, click the mask button. Now we have that truck portion masked as well. So since the veggie truck front has the graphic issue with the box, we do want to make sure it's below the actual box image of the truck, or we need to mask the form. And what I mean by that is if I were to go ahead and choose linear burn on this, you can see it's appearing on the truck itself, the back portion. And what if the color of the green doesn't match with that? So it can clash or cause issues and show that imperfection. So we definitely want to make sure we put that element where it belongs in the form of order. So that way it's nicely tucked behind the box van mask. And then we can turn on the back. And then, you know, I wanted to show you, you can actually change the color too. It doesn't have to be something simple like this. You can have a solid color, but whatever you do, if you have a color that you're trying to match, do it all in Illustrator so the color is completely the same. If you try eyedropping, you're going to get a hair difference. It's going to be similar, but there is going to be a difference. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you a different version of this where I use a different color, and I can just go ahead and turn this off. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to hit Place Linked, and this time I'm going to do the veggie truck with the orange version. And I like this one a little bit better because of the fact that the form itself was saved properly, so it didn't have all this noise around it. But I want to go ahead and we can do linear burn early and kind of mess with it while it's in this phase. That's totally fine. And if you hold down Command or Control, mask that front portion, then you can pop it in the mask and then transform it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the unlink feature. Now I'm going to click on the image, which is the actual orange box here. And now I'm going to make the corrections I want to make for the form. So I'm going to hit Command. I'm going to show you Edit, Transform, and I'm going to skew this. And I'm going to pull this one down a little bit to go with the truck. And I can move it. I can bring it down and fill the form. Okay, now I like this here. I like it over here. But if you notice, there's a little bit of orange missing. That is okay. I'm going to show you. You can hit OK, and I'm going to actually turn off the linear burn so you can see the original color. All right, so here's what you need to do. You need to go into Illustrator, and you need to go to the shape, and you need to extend the form so it's longer. Then you're going to save this design in the exact same way you had it before. So you're going to go to File, you're going to export as, right? And then when you do that, you're going to go to that exact file, veggie truck orange, and name it exactly the same thing. You're going to make sure you show the artboard, so you're using the correct artboard, which is artboard 2, and you're going to export. And you're going to choose Replace. It's okay. All right, so these are linked. So once you're back in Photoshop, now you're going to update your link. You're going to go to your layer, you're going to right click, and you're going to choose relink to file. So now when you have the image selected, which is your Veggie Truck Orange 2, which has now been extended, it's relinked. It puts it in the exact same place. It shifted it a little bit. But if you look at it, it's still skewed. It still kept those properties that I adjusted. So the only difference is now it's wider and it covers this area. So I can now choose normal color burn, and I have my truck with all of my details preserved, but now made improvements for. All right, guys, well, now you know how to make a quick mock-up utilizing Illustrator and Photoshop, and really it's just masking and using those blending modes. You can definitely continue to make variations or overlay multiple layers to create the visual effect that you want. But I hope you guys play around and have some fun of your own and make amazing mock-ups yourself.